The Saharan Enigma. Before we start, just a reminder, if you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe to the channel. Now let's get to the video. The discovery. The scorching sun of the Sahara Desert beat down mercilessly upon Dr. Edmund Hartwell as he wiped the sweat from his brow with a dust-covered handkerchief. It was March 1589 a que todos los sitios para famino del Tropoclus truan forminco Tuareg tribe for nearly 3 weeks, documenting it for ancient customs and searching for artifacts that might shed light on the region's mysterious past. Dr. Hartwell, a distinguished fellow of the Royal Archaeological Society, had dedicated his life to uncovering the secrets of ancient civilizations. His weathered face bore the marks of countless expeditions across Egypt, Sudan, and the vast expanse of the Sahara. Cathquartimon la Gerald scholar possessed an insatiable curiosity cononficem sub de landrado por facida diaquartioten emigimpo. El Chupan securitorjo, particoneden andra complicate cruba, tofreusion darjoeca tantlas curiokilo. En Tuareg tribe led the boys elder Amenokal ag Muhammad, had initially been wary of the foreign scholar. Hartwell's respectful approach, as genuine interested in aventure, have gradually earned up trust. He esen brutraf sabotamashek to Tuareg language, and bonifere terrorbon tulacian maraifa. On fair particular day, the tribe was at camp near an ancient oasis called Bir el Garama, a place shrouded in local legends and whispered stories. The oasis was said to be cursed, though the exact nature of the curse varied, depending on who told the tale. Some clan de poder resting playas adagin, while the arrow espacio de ancient kings who have buried the treasures there, protecting them with a powerful magic. As the afternoon heat began to subside, Dr. Hartwell noticed unusual stone formations jutting from the sand about a quarter-mile from the oasis. His trained eye immediately recognized these as potentially man-made structures, possibly the remains of an ancient settlement. With a growing excitement, he approaches Amenokal, a requested permission to investigate out investigate. The tribal leader's weathered face grew grave as he considered the request. Dr. Hartwell, he summoned his aceronding fumbly at folk update, for the at least end of the twist and again. He cavaged on cold, be penger in poda, but of the camocari dica. Pido carmo di gruda to a den carompende. He cavaggo assento to, mucum se somoriva fopodo se trugeredo morir. He jal jurido piviapho, el bundofania paumento fesa, cua festa. He ti pedio caviete, lo pedio caviafer. Il moni monoca verde moribico d'impento dio cavaude. Doi mauno pric tavia batopo morlovrierte mi, e ti piduro popo me bia cavia batopi foto. After much discussion te promise respect and secret sites, Amenokal reluctantly agreed to allow the investigación, though he insisted de que todos his most trusted warriors accompanya the archaeologist. As the gauss the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the desert in shades of gold and crimson, Dr. Hartwell and his Tuareg companions made their way to the mysterious formations. The closer they came in, the more convincing the archaeologist became favorito de moratiente que pase seguinte riabración do varias nispal to langsom structure, per hobot en penple or burial site. The warriors, Amayas and Akli, remained visibly uncomfortable as they approached the site. They muttered prayers under their breath and frequently touched the protective amulets hanging around their necks. Their unease only intensified Dr. Hartwell's anticipation. Using his archaeological tools, Dr. Hartwell began carefully excavating around the largest stone formation. The work was painstaking in the desert heat. Parujos 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 The symbols appear to be a hybrid of various ancient scripts. Some resembled Egyptian hieroglyphs, others looked similar to Phoenician characters, and still others seemed completely unique. Dr. Hartwell's heart raced as he realized he might have stumbled upon evidence of a previously unknown civilization. As the excavation continued into the evening, illuminated by flickering torches held by the increasingly nervous Tuareg warriors, Dr. Hartwell's spade struck something metallic. The sound rang out clearly in the desert air, causing both Amayas and Arakli to step back instinctively. Working with even greater care, the archaeologists gradually uncovered the new campuer de tua pentekis tuva diowen, borquam per lupinkerlof, te tua pipiden quantava tu babi, potetitu kaf liquido de days workalelo commanded de la fuit to be, and on facial that were blasted off the one fata. The spear was composed of what appeared to be a dark, unknown metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its surface was covered in the same mysterious symbols found on the stone formations, but it seemed to shimmer and move in the torchlight, creating an almost hypnotic effect. Most peculiar of all were the 12 perfectly circular indentations arranged in a specific pattern around the spear's surface. Each indentation was about exactly an axamecin, to the gaudi vandalosir poestar. Pero what Dr. Hartwell could not fathom. As he lifted up he walks by, descending Tom, Dr. Hartwell was struck by its unusual weight. Despite its size, this throw felt surprisingly light, as if it were hollow, yet when he gently shook it, no sound came from within. The metal was neither warm nor cold to the touch, maintaining a neutral temperature that seemed to adapt to his body heat. The Tuareg warriors watched in fascination and growing fear as Dr. Hartwell examined his discovery. Amayas, the elder of the two, finally spoke up. Doctor, we should leave this place. The spirits grow restless as darkness falls. Indeed, the desert night was approaching rapidly, and strange sounds seemed to echo across the dunes, though these could easily have been the natural settling of sand or the distant calls of nocturnal animals. Nevertheless, Dr. Hartwell agreed to return to Campath, carefully removing the mysterious fear in his traveling cloak. Then sweet night, as the tribe settled around their campfires, Dr. Hartwell sat apart, studying the object by lamplight. He meticulously documented every symbol, every indentation, and every unusual characteristic in his leather-bound journal. The more he examined the sphere, the more questions arose. What civilization had created this artifact? What was its purpose? Viajade que zamperedido in such a remote location. Y most intriguingly, como estos duedia de indentations meant to hold. As he worked late into the night, Dr. Hartwell became aware of a subtle phenomenon. The symbols on the sphere seemed to pulse with a faint, almost imperceptibly light, so subtle that he wondered if it was merely a trick of his tired eyes. Yet the longer he observed, the more convinced he became that the object possessed some form of internal energy. The discovery quit the premise de opetit demeni para prestalitir kunto sume de veresak. Itu el día del proyespan, beutir badness, mofuchelayo dos corsomen de cuento corlejardo. His modesty in Bloomsbury, once organized and scholarly, had transformed into a chaotic laboratory filled with reference books, ancient texts, and detailed sketches of the artifact. Sylvia sat prominently on his mahogany desk, its dark surface seeming to absorb the gaslight that illuminated his evening research sessions. Dr. Hartwell had subjected the object to every test available to 19th century science, yet each examination only deepened the mystery. Professor James Whitmore, of the Royal Society of Chemistry, had analyzed prontes cries and ejercides plasosurface, only to declare the metal unlike any known element. The composition defied classification, exhibiting properties that seemed to contradict established scientific principles. It impinto 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 to contradict established scientific principles. Ichimpinto 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 Hartwell's colleague at the British Museum, Dr. Margaret Ashford, the few female scholars accepted in archaeological circles, had spent weeks attempting to decipher the symbols covering the sphere. Her expertise in ancient languages was unparalleled, yet she found herself equally baffled. Edmund, she said during one of their many consultation sessions, these symbols, they're not from any single civilization. It's as if someone took elementa Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Sanskrit, and another another script, and combined registros en una bulocentarimani. Orpejoren supposed, studying the sphere through her magnifying glass, Pejoreno the source from which all other writing systems derived. This suggestion sent Dr. Hartwell's mind racing. Could the sphere be evidence of a previously unknown mother civilization, one que sido influencente developmento per la quens todo materialitu da benequereums compinita la winteri? Implications bulletintori duanari of quens compinita nauris quanfregalafaris peca. Is the spear guanta la von Nanclinton anymodisaio? The nobody forbidden that Dr. Hartwell's obsession with the spear began to affect his health and social standing. He declined dinner invitations, missed Royal Archaeological Society meetings, and spent increasingly long hours in his study. His housekeeper, Mrs. Pemberton, grew concerned about his eating habits and the strange hours he kept. Dr. Chiwu say, bringing me another an untouched meal, you must take better care of yourself. This took a hope shall say. To poor and nicotitzel thing is not natural, if you don't mind me saying. Indeed, Mrs. Pemberton had noticed the same phenomenon that Dr. Hartwell had observed in the desert, the subtle pulsing of the symbols, particularly during the darkest hours of night. Si adò notetinos paramest affectava fecioro el arcade, duches, deches cum ditoti per iluving, windilen abrieris to Oxford. Dr. Hartwell's research that often overhears came deep of the archives of the British Museum, in the libraries of Oxford and Cambridge, he pored over ancient texts, searching for any reference to similar objects or the mysterious symbols. His investigación hasta que mafuido Sumerian tablets, Egyptian papyri, Greek manuscripts, medieval alchemical treatises, in a 13th century Arabic manuscript, hidden away in the Bodleian Library's restricted collection, they have found dispersed a potential clue. The text, written by the scholar Ibn Masara, mentioned the sphere of whispers discovered by Berber traders in the deep Sahara. According to the manuscript, the sprier was the parobion for contonalogies. Y todo baro fino da expriking before the 40 kingdoms. The spri common kingdoms, todos the kingdoms, gim conambion tenapo adolir seneropnikiono. In the hopricamon abicontex opriconor le kingdoms. Todo paus opriconambion of 4 kingdoms, endurapiendo yatienter falpotati extenuos, quañar ultimate fate remandridon. Ibn Masarra's text suggested the sprier was nearly 12 as such objects. It can be photo the quabiner puzzle. This revelation led Dr. Hartwell to focus his attention on the 12 circular indentations on the spear's surface. He became convinced that these were meant to hold other objects, perhaps smaller spears or crystalline structures that would complete the artifact's function. But what such a function might be remained tantalizingly unclear. His investigation took an unexpected turn when he received a letter from Professor Heinrich Zimmermann of the University of Berlin. The German archaeologist had usual rumors of Dr. Hartwell's discovery through academic channels and claimed to possess a fragment of ancient Mesopotamian text that might be relevant. The correspondence was followed revealed that Professor Zimmermann had been researching similar mysterious artifacts for years. He had uncovered references to star metal spheres in Babylonian text and vessels of the void in ancient Persian writings. Most intriguingly, he possessed a small crystallum objectamium, Miquel crefaide masio en terrora de Gethecom, por eristo firon y reronandi todos. Dr. Hartwell immediately invited a German professor to London, and their meeting in November 1889 proved to be a turning point in the investigation. Professor Zimmermann was a thin, intensive man with piercing blue eyes and an encyclopedic knowledge of ancient Near Eastern civilizations. When Zimmermann first laid eyes on the spheres, His reaction pues immediately dinanatikierne. Mein Gott, he whispered, reaching out to touch the artifact with trembling fingers. It is exactly as the texts described, the Schlüssel der Sterne, the key of stars. The crystal that Zimmermann had brought was roughly the size of a walnut, multifaceted and possessed of an inner light that seemed to pulse with its own rhythm. When he carefully plastic uno de spears indentations, both men gasped as a crystal settled perfectly un plus when audible click. Immediately the spear's behavior changed. The symbols began to glow more brightly, and a low humming sound filled the study. The crystal itself blazed with inner fire, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Most remarkably, tough men experienced a sudden influx of images and sensations, glimpses vast star-filled skies, ancient cities unlike any known to archaeology, and beings that seemed both familiar and utterly alien. The vision lasted only moments before the crystal's light faded and the humming ceased, but its impact on both scholars was profound. They had witnessed something that challenged the very foundations of their understanding of history and reality. There are 11 more. Dr. Hartwell sor quietly, tus mofiles adira per puzzles. Icon pordenopticon cram. 11 more crystals, 11 more pieces of this puzzle, como fanas fauna falido. Professor Zimmermann nodded gravely. Yes, but we must be careful. The texts speak of great power, but also of great danger. Some knowledge, was hidden for good reason. As the two men sat in the flickering gaslight, studying now dormant sphere, neither could have imagined the journey que la tiende ahead, a quest could have come across continents, y that toured the darkest chapters of human history, all in pursuit of an ancient secret that some forces would kill to protect. The partnership between Dr. Hartwell and Professor Zimmermann proved to be extraordinarily fruitful. Over the following months, the combined research efforts uncovered a hidden network of scholars, collectors, and mystics who have been quietly pursuing similar artifacts for decades. Their first major breakthrough came through Dr. Hartwell's correspondence with the French archaeologist Dr. Céleste Dubois, who been excavating sites in Cambodia. Dr. Céleste Dubois, who been excavating sites in Cambodia. Dubois had discovered references to celestial keys and ancient Khmer inscriptions at Angkor Wat, several detailed drawings that matched the sphere's symbolic patterns almost exactly. The Khmer texts speak of 12 sacred objects that fell from the stars during the reign of Jayavarman Seto. Dr. Dubois wrote in a letter. According to the inscriptions, these objects were distributed among the greatest temples of the empire, each guarded by a different order of priests. The texts cuando are united, they would reveal the path to the source of all knowledges. Yet this revelation prompted Dr. Hartwell to expand his investigation beyond academic circles. Through discreet inquiries among London's antiquarian dealers and private collectors, he discovered that several wealthy individuals possessed objects that might be related to his sphere. Lord Pembroke, a eccentric collector known for his interest in occult artifacts, invited Dr. Hartwell to his estate in the Cotswolds. The nobleman's private enough contained an impressive array of mysterious objects gathered from around the world, but it was a small jade figurine from Tibet that caught the archaeologist's attention. Acquired it from a Tibetan monk in 1875, Lord Pembroke explained, handling the figurine with obvious reverence. He claimed it was one of the tears of the Sky Father, whatever that means. Saidi plupotho or 11 others, pero gudante labarate further. Mogenude labarate further. The figurine was exquisitely carved, depicting a seated figure in meditation pose, but what made it truly remarkable was the crystalline structure embedded in its base, a crystal that perfectly matched the size and shape of the sphere's indentations. When Dr. Hartwell carefully extracted the crystal and placed it in the sphere alongside Professor Zimmermann's contribution, the results were even more dramatic than before. The sphere levitated several inches above the desk, rotating slowly while emitting a complex harmonic resonance. The symbols blazed with multicolored light, and both men experienced vivid visions of ancient astronomical observations and mathematical calculations of staggering complexity. Lord Pembroke, witnessing this display, immediately pledged Labria full support to their quest. "Good God, Hartwell," he exclaimed, "you've stumbled upon something that makes the crown jewels look like costume jewelry. Whatever you need, funding, connections, resources, consider it yours." With Lord Pembroke's backing, Dr. Hardwell was able to establish a more formal research organization. They rented a large townhouse in Kensington, converting it into a combination laboratory, library, and secure storage facility for their growing collection of artifacts. The team expanded to include Dr. Ashford, whose linguistic expertise proved invaluable, and a brilliant young physicist named Thomas Edison Jr., son of the famous American inventor, who had developed new techniques for analyzing unusual materials and energy patterns. Their investigation soon revealed that the network of spear seekers extended far beyond academic circles. Through coded advertisements in scholarly journals and discreet inquiries among international colleagues, the domain contacted with similar groups in Russia, India, or Professor Dmitry Volkov of the Imperial Academy of Sciences in St. Petersburg had been tracking references to star stones in ancient Slavic texts and claimed to possess 2 crystals recovered from Scythian burial mounds. Dr. Rajesh Gupta of the Archaeological Survey of India had discovered crystal fragments in the ruins of Harappa that matched to the specifications exactly. Most intriguingly, they received a letter from Dr. Maria Santos, a Mexican archaeologist who had been investigating Aztec and Maya sites. She claimed that several crystals had been discovered in a hidden chamber beneath the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan, along with codices that spoke of the return of the star-bearers. As the network graph, sodorin an understanding of the spiritual radio significances, dona contextos, but do fado yobchos, as a keys to a vast repository of knowledges, a library or archive created by an advanced civilization, tioneg existed long before recorded history. The most detailed account came from Byzantine manuscript discovered in the archives of Mount Athos, written by the monk Maximus the Confessor in the 7th century. Is describe la visión en quien estabado a buisia soque camar. Acordé Maximus, the 7th days and its companion crystals were created by the Watchers, beings who had observed the rise and fall of countless civilizations across the cosmos. These Watchers had established hidden repositories of knowledge on various worlds, including Earth, as a safeguard against the loss of accumulated wisdom. The manuscript tillen the complete sphere, but not activated by the dual UF crystals, but also could reveal the location of the primary repository, a vast underground complex hidden somewhere in the world's most remote regions. This repository allegedly contained not only the complete history of human civilization, but also advanced knowledge of science, mathematics, and cosmic mysteries that would not be rediscovered for millennia. However, the textos all contained warnings. The knowledge contained to repositorios sunt hallando resprovatorio moron como vada erogos prostan ketigmel or rei do destroy the paporjo. Either of repository felasto go gemetis coinsto into a complete the one you and love so this, but tarwats vada kering consto ordo yen patet sapsual lokelos castle. Each addition to the sphere had produced increasingly powerful effects, and visions con experience por boconen more coherent and detailed. The latest vision had shown them glimpses of the repository itself, vast halls carved from living rock, filled with crystalline storage devices that pulsed with inner light. They had seen star maps of impossible complexity, mathematical equations que seem to describe the fundamental structure of reality, and historical records que span the millions of years. But the notive del big method of reality, but never the kim naions meleks. Tomó Josué, tene kiva bien big las kitivos y guerras. Tomó Josué en ecabitives parententombistiu. Hardwell began to suspect that no de per todo y something mandala on no se doppia la forma y un prema te cristal un forma com cristal. Aditiro questa la trattata di attenzione forses co preferda un tion on obdi hopechtin demo from versakene compastina recomplanschaffen huden cuvio prusteindorekas udire man dangerous at un big. Dr. Hardwell había si propietino pistonci numer hepekine podiotio gumilos fu dangerous hation hermodior de tando tiduetio path morica pecoado sidin waitico prefeges in jombicomatico as sick. Hardwell's quest had attracted unwanted attention from quarters he had never anticipated. The Harsosino opposition came in the form of a break-in at their Kensington facility. Though nothing was stolen, it was clear that someone had carefully examined the researched materials and photographed key documents. Professional work. observed Inspector Frederick Morrison of Scotland Yard as he examined the scene. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were looking for. No random burglar was have ignored the balabalicia y tweaked, while focusing solely on to research notes, pues do plompe subrierdores cumpis campañas, de bicatencio y homines events. Dr. Ashford lens por an abalde de bicatencio in burglar po mysterious figures during her visits to the British Museum. Professor Zimmerman received threatening letters warning him to abandon his research. Most disturbalento fellow cien, ese el international contact is simply banished. There is mon maniguesco en assets, baricon ropen broco bien por echa conduct batcom a toda spachicaltia, tridon rogan a disposición. Y notable exet cotact viesidos jalefo, donde de no lichan canexto posición. There are forces in this world, Hartwell, he thought during one of their evening meetings, that have a vested interest in keeping certain knowledge hidden. Secret societies, government agencies, religious orders, as puede afetis razón of sadeos, pomo afi contra pi contra llamanmo, yavi adesterius o mujat, pero tal sopon pereshoda, tan y corlegi contra, por la borda printer, tan oachina posito compartia plus pat, torper toa maso embatre warawe mat, pare jo pazos et gode sopon pompat, te cobano porgi now card cover la checrues, Torel de rieti mava nick will never now arquas. The estato bavo general la permardam, ti vedeva formati passe or nete ki willo mama. E vor an expensive badese sieno na chano tintegerum pon cavadet en espadisin hora acustam penela bafanta teresistum, Dr. Hartwell, de Hartwell iba gobria tamal tenly. Come now, doctor. We know about the sphere, the crystals, and your growing network of international collaborators. We also know that you're seeking something that could fundamentally alter the balance of power in the world. The conversation that followed revealed the existence of a shadowy organization within the British government, one that had been monitoring and suppressing discoveries of unusual artifacts for decades. According to Blackwood, similar groups existed in other major powers, all working to ensure that certain types of knowledge remain declassified. So, Doctor, Blackwood explained, the world is not ready for the revelations you're pursuing. The knowledge contained in Tofari Posotiri could destabilize governments, overthrow religions, and plunge civilization into chaos. My organization exists to prevent such catastrophes. Dr. de Hartwell Fankaporapeks, Weltosion Siamtichor Curiosity, and growing unease. And if I refuse to cooperate, then you find your research funding mysteriously dried up, your academic credentials questioned, and your international colleagues suddenly unwilling to associate with you. We prefer cooperation to coercion, but we will use whatever methods prove necessary. Despite the threats, Dr. Hartwell refused to abandon his quest. However, Eddie agreed to share his findings with Blackwood's organization, hoping to buy time while he and his team continued their search for the remaining crystals. This decision proved fortuitous when they received word from Dr. Santos in Mexico. He had successfully located 2 more crystals in a hidden chamber beneath Chichen Itza, but her excavation had been interrupted by the arrival of armed men claiming to represent the Mexican government. They knew exactly what they were looking for. Dr. Santos wrote in a hastily scrawled letter smuggled out by a trusted colleague. They spoke of orders from the council and seemed to know more about the crystals than I did. I managed to escape with 1 crystal, but they have the other. The mention of the council sent chills through Dr. Hartwell's team. It appeared that the opposition was not limited to individual governments, but represented some form of international conspiracy, dedicated to suppressing their research. Their suspicions were confirmed when Professor Volkov sent word from Russia that his laboratory had been raided by Tsarist secret police. The 2 crystals he had discovered were confiscated, and he was warned to cease all research into matters of cosmic significance. The pattern was becoming clear. Whenever they located crystals, mysterious forces would intervene to prevent their acquisition. It seemed that their opponents possessed resources and intelligence networks that spanned the globe. Dr. Hartwell's team realized they needed to change tactics. Instead of working openly through academic channels, they would have to operate in secret, using Lord Pembroke's connections and resources to stay ahead of their pursuers. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Thomas Edison, while analyzing the energy patterns emitted by their 7 crystals, discovered that the sphere was actually transmitting in signals complex mathematical sequences that seemed to be coordinates. "It's like a beacon," he explained excitedly to the assembled team. "Each crystal BER increases the signal strength and provides additional coordinated data. I believe the sphere is trying to guide us to the locations of the remaining crystals." Using Edison's calculations, they were able to determine that one of the remaining crystals was located somewhere in the Australian outback. Lord Pembroke immediately arranged for a discreet expedition, using his connections in the colonial administration to secure the necessary permits and protection. The Australian expedition, led by Dr. Hartwell and Dr. Ashford, proved to be both successful and harrowing. They located the crystal in an Aboriginal sacred site, but their excavation was interrupted by the arrival of armed men who claimed to be acting on behalf of international security interests. A desperate chase across the outback followed, with Dr. Hartwell's team barely escaping with the crystal in their lives. The experience made it clear that their opponents were willing to use violence to achieve their goals. Upon returning to London, they found their Kensington facility under surveillance and several team members missing. Lord Pembroke's resources proved invaluable in establishing a new, more secure base of operations in a remote Scottish castle. As they prepared for the final phase of their quest, Dr. Hartwell couldn't shake the feeling that they were being manipulated by forces beyond their understanding. The sphere's growing powers seemed to be drawing them inexorably toward a confrontation that would determine not just the fate of their research, but possibly the future of human civilization itself. With only 3 crystals remaining to be found, the race was entering its final, most dangerous phase. The remote Scottish castle of Dunvegan, provided by Lord Pembroke's connections, became the fortress from which Dr. Hartwell's team planned their final operations. The ancient stone walls seemed appropriate for housing secrets that spanned millennia, and the isolation provided some protection from their increasingly aggressive pursuers. By autumn of 1890, they had successfully acquired 10 of the 12 crystals, despite constant interference from what they now knew was called the Council, an international organization dedicated to suppressing dangerous archaeological discoveries. Each crystal's addition to the sphere had increased its power exponentially, and the visions it provided were becoming almost overwhelming in their clarity and scope. The sphere now levitated permanently above its specially constructed pedestal, rotating slowly while emitting a complex symphony of harmonic frequencies. The symbols covering its surface blazed with shifting patterns of light that seemed to respond to the observer's thoughts and emotions. Most remarkably, the artifact had begun to project 3-dimensional images into the air around it, star maps, architectural plans, and scenes from Earth's hidden history. Dr. Ashford had made significant progress in deciphering the sphere's communications. "It's not just showing us the past," she explained during one of their evening briefings. "It's teaching us the mathematical principles, the astronomical observations, the technological concepts. It's all part of a comprehensive educational program designed to prepare us for what we'll find in the repository." Thomas Edison's analysis had revealed that the sphere was drawing energy from sources that defied conventional physics. "It's tapping into what I can only describe as the fundamental force that binds the universe together," he reported. "The implications for our understanding of energy and matter are staggering." The penultimate crystal had been located through the sphere's coordinate transmissions in a Tibetan monastery high in the Himalayas. Hartwell and Professor Zimmermann had undertaken the perilous journey themselves, disguised as pilgrims, and traveling through treacherous mountain passes to avoid council surveillance. The monastery's ancient abbot, Tenzin Norbu, had been expecting them. The prophecy spoke of the star seekers, who would come in the time of great change, he said, his weathered face serene despite the magnitude of their request. "We have guarded the crystal of enlightenment for 40 generations. waiting for those worthy to claim it. The crystal's integration into the sphere had produced the most powerful reaction yet. The entire castle had been filled with resonant energy, and every member of the team had experienced simultaneous visions of unprecedented clarity. They had seen the repository in its full glory, a vast underground complex that stretched for miles beneath the Earth's surface, containing knowledge gathered from across the cosmos. But they had also seen something else, the Council's true nature and purpose. The organization was far older than any of them had suspected, tracing its origins back to the fall of Atlantis, and the last great civilization that had possessed the repository's knowledge. The Council's members were descendants of those who had chosen to hide the ancient wisdom rather than risk its misuse, and they viewed Dr. Hartwell's team as dangerous idealists who would unleash forces beyond their control. The location of the final crystal had been revealed in their latest vision. It lay hidden beneath the Great Pyramid of Giza, in a chamber that had never been discovered by conventional archaeology. The sphere's projections showed detailed plans of the pyramid's true internal structure, revealing passages and chambers that defied everything Egyptologists thought they knew about the monument. However, their preparations for the Egyptian expedition were interrupted by the arrival of an unexpected ally. Dr. Maria Santos, who had been presumed captured or killed after the incident in Mexico, appeared at Dunvegan's gates in the middle of a November storm. "I've been hiding in the Scottish Highlands for months," she explained, exhausted but determined. "The Council has been hunting me, but I've learned things about their organization that you need to know." Santos revealed that the Council was not monolithic. It was divided into factions with different philosophies about how to handle the ancient knowledge. One faction, led by a mysterious figure known only as the Hierophant, believed that the knowledge should be completely destroyed to prevent its misuse. Another faction, represented by figures like Blackwood, preferred to control and gradually release selected information. "There's a third faction," Dr. Santos continued, "that believes the time has come for the full revelation. They've been secretly helping researchers like us, providing protection and resources, while maintaining their cover within the Council." This revelation explained how Dr. Hartwell's team had managed to survive as long as they had. Their lucky escapes and fortunate coincidences had actually been the result of intervention by Council members who supported their quest. The leader of this progressive faction was revealed to be someone they had encountered before, Inspector Morrison of Scotland Yard, who had investigated the break-in at their Kensington facility. Morrison arrived at Dunvegan the following day, accompanied by a small team of operatives who had been working to protect the sphere seekers from within the Council's own ranks. "The time for secrecy is ending," Morrison explained. "The world is changing rapidly. No technologies, no ideas, no challenges that will require all of humanity's accumulated wisdom to address. The repository's knowledge could help us solve problems we don't even know we're facing yet." Morrison's faction had been preparing for this moment for decades, positioning their members throughout the Council's hierarchy and gathering resources for the final phase of the quest. They had ships standing by in the Mediterranean, excavation equipment cached near the pyramids, and safe houses established along the route to Egypt. But they also brought disturbing news. The Hierophant's faction had discovered the location of the final crystal and was preparing their own expedition to claim it. Unlike Dr. Hartwell's team, they intended to destroy the crystal rather than allow the sphere to be completed. "It's going to be a race," Morrison warned, "and the stakes couldn't be higher. If the Hierophant succeeds in destroying the final crystal, the sphere will become inert, and the repository's location will be lost forever. Humanity will lose its chance to reclaim its true heritage." As the team prepared for their most dangerous mission, Dr. Hartwell reflected on how far they had come from that day in the Sahara, when he had first uncovered the mysterious. What had begun as an archaeological curiosity had evolved into a quest that would determine the future of human knowledge and understanding. The sphere itself seemed to sense the approaching climate. Its emanations had become more intense, and the visions it projected now included glimpses of possible futures, some showing humanity ascending to new heights of wisdom and achievement, others depicting civilizations destroyed by knowledge they were not ready to handle. Standing before the ancient artifact in the castle's great hall, surrounded by his dedicated team of scholars and their unexpected allies, Dr. Hartwell felt the weight of responsibility settling upon his shoulders. In a few days they would attempt to complete a puzzle that had been waiting for completion for thousands of years. The final crystal awaited them beneath the sands of Egypt, but so did their most dangerous adversary. The outcome would determine whether humanity was ready to reclaim its cosmic inheritance, or whether the ancient knowledge would remain hidden for another age. The journey to Egypt in December 1890 was undertaken with military precision. Morrison's faction within the council had arranged for a private steamship to carry Dr. Hartwell's team and their precious cargo across the Mediterranean, while advance scouts confirmed that the Hierophant's forces were already in position around the Giza complex. The sphere, now containing 11 crystals, had become almost too powerful to contain. Even wrapped in specially designed dampening materials, it continued to emit energies that affected both instruments and people. Hartwell found himself experiencing constant visions, fragments of ancient memories, and future possibilities that blurred the line between past and present. Upon reaching Alexandria, the team transferred to a heavily guarded caravan for the overland journey to Cairo. The Egyptian authorities, influenced by both British colonial administration and council connections, had been convinced to provide archaeological permits for a routine survey of the pyramid complex. Ashforth had spent the voyage completing her translation of the sphere's projected hieroglyphs, which provided detailed instructions for accessing the hidden chamber. The entrance is not through any of the known passages, she explained as they made camp near the pyramid. There's a concealed opening in the pyramid's foundation, accessible only when the sphere is brought within a certain proximity. The night of December 21st, the winter solstice, was chosen for the attempt, as the sphere's projections indicated that astronomical alignments would be crucial for the final revelation. As darkness fell over the Giza plateau, two expeditions converged on the Great Pyramid from opposite directions. Dr. Hartwell's team approached from the north, carrying the sphere in a specially constructed container that barely contained its growing energy. The Hierophant's forces, numbering nearly 50 armed men, had taken positions around the pyramid's traditional entrances, clearly intending to prevent any attempt at entry. The confrontation that followed was unlike anything in archaeological history, as Dr. Hartwell's team activated the sphere near the pyramid's base. The ancient monument responded with phenomena that defied rational explanation. Hidden passages opened with grinding sounds that echoed across the desert, while the pyramid's limestone blocks began to emit a faint phosphorescent glow. The Hierophant himself emerged from the shadows, a tall, imposing figure dressed in robes that seemed to absorb light. His face was hidden behind an ornate mask that bore symbols matching those on the sphere, and when he spoke, his voice carried an authority that suggested centuries of command. "You do not understand what you are unleashing," he declared, his words carrying clearly across the desert air. "The knowledge you seek has destroyed the civilization that created it. It will destroy ours as well if you proceed." Hartwell, emboldened by the sphere's proximity and the visions it had shared, stepped forward to respond. "Knowledge itself is not dangerous, only ignorance and the fear of truth. Humanity has the right to its own heritage." The debate that followed revealed the fundamental philosophical divide that had driven the council's internal conflict for millennia. The Hierophant's faction believed that some knowledge was too dangerous for any civilization to possess, while Hartwell's allies argued that suppressing truth ultimately led to stagnation and decline. As they argued, the sphere's influence continued to grow. The pyramid's hidden mechanisms, dormant for thousands of years, began to activate. The stone blocks shifted to reveal passages that led deep into the monument's heart, while ancient lighting systems powered by principles that would not be rediscovered for another century illuminated the way forward. The standoff was broken when Dr. Santos, who had been circling around the pyramid's perimeter, discovered the entrance to the hidden chamber. "Here," she called out, her voice echoing from the pyramid's base. "The sphere is responding to something down here." Both factions converged on the location, but the narrow passage could accommodate only a few people at a time. Dr. Hartwell, carrying the sphere, led his team into the depths of the pyramid, while the Hierophant's forces attempted to follow. The chamber they discovered defied everything known about pyramid construction. It was vast, far larger than the monument's external dimensions should have allowed, and filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with inner light. At the chamber's center stood a pedestal clearly designed to hold the sphere, surrounded by 12 smaller pedestals that matched the crystal's dimensions exactly. As Dr. Hartwell approached the central pedestal, the sphere's container burst open, unable to contain the artifact's energy any longer. The sphere arose into the air, its 11 crystals blazing like miniature stars, while the chamber's crystalline structures responded with harmonious resonance. The final crystal was revealed to be part of the chamber itself, a massive crystalline formation that had been integrated into the pyramid's foundation. As the sphere settled onto its destined pedestal, the final crystal detached itself and floated toward the artifact, completing the pattern that had waited for millennia. The moment of completion was beyond anything the witnesses had imagined. The chamber filled with blinding light as the sphere achieved its full potential, and every person present, regardless of their faction or beliefs, experienced the same overwhelming vision. They saw the repository in its entirety, a vast underground complex that stretched beneath the Sahara Desert, containing the accumulated knowledge of dozens of civilizations that had risen and fallen over millions of years. They witnessed the true history of Earth, the cycles of advancement and destruction that had shaped the planet's development, the interventions of cosmic civilizations, and the careful preservation of wisdom for future generations. But most importantly, they understood the sphere's true purpose. It was not merely a key to hidden knowledge. It was a test. Only civilizations that could overcome their internal divisions and work together for the common good could successfully activate the sphere and access the repository. The very act of completing the artifact required cooperation, wisdom, and the ability to see beyond immediate self-interest. The Hierophant, his mask fallen away to reveal an ancient face marked by centuries of boredom, knelt before the blazing sphere. "He was wrong," he whispered, tears streaming down his weathered cheeks. The test was not whether humanity was worthy of the knowledge, it was whether we were wise enough to seek it together. The visions continued for hours, showing possible futures that branched from this moment of revelation. Some paths led to golden ages of unprecedented prosperity and understanding, while others showed the same knowledge being used for destruction and domination. The choice of which future to pursue would belong to humanity as a whole. As dawn broke over the Giza Plateau, the sphere's light gradually faded, but its transformation was complete. The artifact now served as a permanent gateway to the repository, allowing controlled access to the vast archives of cosmic knowledge. The chamber itself had become a neutral ground where representatives of all nations and factions could come to study and learn. Dr. Hartwell, his quest finally complete, stood before the sphere with a mixture of triumph and humility. The mysterious object he had discovered in the Sahara had indeed changed the world, but not in the way he had originally imagined. Instead of revealing ancient secrets to a select few, it had forced humanity to confront its own divisions and choose between wisdom and folly. The sphere's true purpose had been revealed at last. It was not a tool for accessing hidden knowledge, but a catalyst for human evolution, a test that could only be passed by transcending the very limitations that had kept the secrets hidden for so long. In the years that followed, the Giza Chamber became a center of learning that attracted scholars, philosophers, and visionaries from around the world. The knowledge contained in the repository was gradually released as humanity demonstrated its readiness to handle each new revelation responsibly. Dr. Hartwell lived to see the beginning of a new age of human understanding, though he never forgot the lesson the sphere had taught him, that the greatest discoveries come not from uncovering hidden truths, but from learning to seek those truths together in wisdom and humility. The mysterious object that had baffled him in 1889 had finally revealed its purpose, not as an artifact of the past, but as a key to humanity's future. The sphere remains in the Giza Chamber to this day, its purpose finally understood, but its mysteries far from exhausted. It serves as a reminder that some questions are more important than their answers, and that the journey of discovery is often more valuable than the destination itself. Hartwell's journal, preserved in the Chamber's archives, concludes with these words: "We sought ancient knowledge and found instead the wisdom to become worthy of it." Perhaps that was the greatest discovery of all.